Hello world, welcome back. And in this session, I am going to discuss on user input. And I'll be discussing the input function. So input function prompts the user to input the data from the console. So whenever we want some user input, then we use input function. So as input is a function, so it can only accept either zero argument or one argument. It cannot accept more than one argument. If we'll try to give more than one argument, it will throw error. So when we are using the additional argument, so it is basically used to provide a message in front of the user before providing the input. Let's say if I'm providing enter some number as the argument, so that way when user will be running the program, he will know that he has to enter a number. So it basically provides the informational message in front of user before providing the input. An input function always returns the string value. So a program that doesn't have any input function is called as def program. Now let me quickly jump onto the PyCharm and let's get started. Let me just write input and accept that in a variable. So whatever value user will input, it will get stored in variable s, and I will just do print s. Let's run this program. So here the cursor is blinking, that means I have to enter some value. Let me enter Python. As soon as I will enter after writing Python, so that value which I will be writing Python, it will get stored in S, and in next line it will print that particular value. As soon as I'll click enter, it will print Python. See, this is the user input, and as soon as I have given the input, it prints the value. Now if you have noted here, I haven't given any argument, right? Zero. So it was just blinking and I have to write down the user input without knowing what kind of input I'm providing. I have already mentioned that it's always better to give some message so that it enhances the readability and it gives some information about the input that user have to provide. So if I'll write down provide programming language name, so it makes more sense now, right? So in this case, input function is accepting how many parameter? One parameter. So it accepts either 0 parameter or 1 parameter. So we are using the word parameter and argument interchangeably, but there is a small difference between parameter and argument. So I'll cover that in later videos when I'll come to functions. There is a slight difference, but most of us basically use these words interchangeably. Okay, so in this particular case, when I'll run the program, it is basically telling to provide programming language name to the user. So now user is aware, right, what he has to provide as an input. So he is aware that he has to provide some programming language name. So let's say if he provides Java, and when he hits enter, it will print Java. In order to make it look more clean, I can either introduce a space bar at the end, or I can introduce colon. It will further enhance the readability. In this case, let's say JavaScript I provide, so it is looking more cleaner now. So that's how input function work, and it takes the user input. Now let's take some of the examples. The return type is always a string, right? If I provide here input some integer value and print, so when I'll run this program, it is asking user to provide some integer value. I am entering 10, and when I'll hit enter, so first of all it will print 10, and then it will print type of this particular value. So input function always return a string. In the output it is printing class str. Now in order to convert the values into integer, there are two ways. First way is to basically use int method over the input method directly. So once I use this particular thing, the type of s when I'll print, it will be int. Let's see it. You see that here the type will become int. So this is the first way. Now the second way to convert the entered value into integer, so it will be a equal to int of s, and here I will write down a and again a. So when I'll run this program, I'll provide some value, it prints integer. What is the need of taking it in a separate variable? What I mean is that if I'll just give here like this, and if I will run this program, will it still print this as integer? No, it will not print. It is still printing str, because I am just converting the value of s into integer type in the print statement itself. The original value s is still a string, so when I'm printing type s, it is still printing the str type. So in order to change type, we can store that in a separate variable and then use that particular variable. We can also reassign the value of s as int s. This will also work in the same way. So that's how the input function works, which is basically used to take the input from the user, and it accepts either 0 arguments or 1 argument.